Thanks a lot. So welcome everybody. I'm happy to give some insights about startup co-innovation activities at Infineon globally. I'm not sure if I prepared some slides, but let's see if it works. Oh yeah, it works. Great. Overall, I mean, why is Infineon interested working with innovative startups? It's because we want to, of course, accelerate innovation at Infineon as well. And that's why we want to partner and work with the best startups worldwide. So that's on a high level. But what can startups expect from Infineon? And I would say startups, well, they need capital, they need coaching, and they need reliable business partners. And I would say they get capital and coaching from maybe better partners than Infineon, but where we come into the game is playing the role as a reliable business partner. And that means, in practice, that the startup gets benefits from our technical know-how, from our technical expertise in semiconductors, in system design. They benefit from our latest products, and they benefit from our access to global customers and global distribution channels. So that's what we bring to the table when we talk to startups. Now, what are the different ways how we can innovate with startups? At Infineon, it's basically 4 different categories how we innovate with startups. So starting on the right side, from our business units and business lines, what's interesting for them. So working with startups, they want to position Infineon products in novel emerging applications, that are emerging applications that are small now, but they will grow big in the future. So imagine service robotics, wearables, bidirectional EV charging. It's a very broad range of topics that are popping up, and then they will become, these topics and markets will become important in the future. So their startups are basically our lead customers. So we are a supplier to them. They build a hardware device, and we learn from them. We get know-how, we get early insights about how those systems work, and we get real-life demonstrators. And the second opportunity that we have with startups from the business side is working with startups as go-to-market partners. So to have more complete system solution. So imagine, for example, our radar sensor that we provide. We work with a startup that can derive out of those radar signals, they can derive blood pressure. So that's very interesting. They are the algorithm specialist, and together with our hardware products, we can address new use cases in health tech. Then moving on a bit to the left, I call it more to the supply side. Of course, there are many semiconductor specialist startups that develop next generation of MEMS devices or novel materials, for example, coatings to develop new sensors, for example. These are more R&D type of partnerships that we are interested in to accelerate our own product development by licensing IP, for example. And finally, the 4th pillar is using startups as innovative suppliers to optimize all kinds of internal processes, be it in manufacturing, be it in HR, also suppliers to become more sustainable. So these are startups that are usually more mature, and because the reason is we want to have scalable solutions. They should work in Europe, in the US, and in Asia. So this is the 4th category. You see it's quite a broad range of startups, of cooperation options that we have. So for startups, what are the benefits? I would say imagine a startup developing hardware, of course they can accelerate their product development because they benefit from our technical know-how that we bring to the table, from our tech advice. They benefit from the newest products. They get insights into our product roadmap, so which products will come in the near future. And of course, with promotion activities, the startups can gain visibility in the market. And also they are allowed, for example, to use our Infineon logo supported by Infineon, which gives them more credibility towards their customers and their investors. And for startups that act as our suppliers, they of course get insights into what are the pain points in the semiconductor industry that need to be solved, and they get a first reference customer in the semiconductor industry, and then they can that will help them to grow further. The type of topics that we are addressing is very broad, and it reflects basically the areas of activities that Infineon is active in, from automotive, industrial, and consumer in the consumer market. What I also want to say with this, we are basically, the topics are given to us by the business units. So we don't define our topics ourselves. In the ivory tower, it's really driven by concrete interests of our business units, and that, in our experiences, increases the probability and the success of those collaborations. In terms of maturity, which startups we are looking for, also there it's depending on which collaboration category we are in. If we talk to hardware startups as lead customers, we are usually talking to early stage startups. So they are developing their prototype. They don't have a first product on the market yet, so they are pre-revenue, and that's where we usually start to discuss with them. When we look at startups that help us to optimize our own processes, as I said before, it's usually more later stage. They have usually a finished solution. They even have first corporate customers already, and that's where we come in and introduce them to the Infineon world. This is just an overview to give you an impression about some of the startups we are working with and the different areas we are active in, both be it as go-to-market partners or startups as lead customers. So the message here is we roughly we work with 30 startups per year, so we kick off globally like 30 collaborations per year with our startup co-innovation activities. So let me give you one example, that a quite recent collaboration that we kicked off. It's with the startup Deep Drive. They are quite young startup. They're building basically new in-wheel motors, very highly efficient in-wheel motors for electric cars. We call them EV skateboard platforms. So they are a team based in Munich. They are basically the team met quite early on while they were studying. They were in a student group, the student motorsport team of the Technical University of Munich. So they met there. They were already developing crazy prototypes there. Then they went off to work for companies like Bosch, also Infineon. And after a while, they met again to create their own company because they saw that they can basically advance the efficiency of electric motors. And they founded Deep Drive. And we got to know them at a startup event in Munich. We knew that they were already working with our microcontrollers for automotive, but they were interested to get more insights into our power electronics offering. So we connected them with the relevant experts to advise them which kind of MOSFETs, top side, bottom side cooling, whatever is possible, is best for their solution. We sent them samples. They tested it very rapidly, gave us product feedback. So we also learned quite a lot from them. And we promote, as I said, we promote these corporations also on LinkedIn. Maybe we take the demonstrator to a trade show. So all these kind of promotion activities help them to gain visibility themselves. Yeah, and as one Infineon colleague from the automotive division says, why it's interesting for him to work with Deep Drive, because he can really learn how the system works for in-wheel motors. So when the market takes off, Infineon is ready because we know how the system works. We gained valuable product feedback, and we can then address this market much faster. And with Deep Drive, we have our products in a real-life environment instead of just having a lab prototype. Yeah? So that's the big advantage. And the startup ecosystem, of course, is truly global, and so is our setup as well. So with major hubs in Singapore with the co-innovation space, which is quite unique in the Infineon world, that we have a physical space for startups. And then with our activities in Munich, a major hub in Silicon Valley, and with smaller hubs in Japan, Seoul, and India. Yeah, for startups in the room, I invite you, of course, to apply. It's very easy. Just go to our webpage, send your application, tell us what you why you think it makes sense for you to collaborate with Infineon, and then we are happy to connect you with the right stakeholders, be it in Europe, Singapore, or somewhere else in the world. So with that, thanks a lot for your attention.